I have many clients say to me, well, I want my husband to change. I want my mom to change. I want my child to change. And I'm like, the only person that you can change is you. Change begins with you. And if you want the relationship to be better, then you need to work on you. And that doesn't mean the relationship is going to be that much better. It means you are going to show up differently.
Welcome to Allow Yourself podcast. Oh, remember that this is a space to breathe, to listen, and to see especially beyond differences. Here we explore truth through listening, not labeling, beyond sex, religion, politics, whatever. We find what unites us, our shared humanity. And today we have an amazing guest that she does a very, very important work. Our guest today is Dawn Jackson. Dawn Michele with one L Jackson, an advanced grief recovery method specialist and best-selling author with over 30 years of nursing experience. Through her compassionate work, Dawn helps others heal, transform, and rediscover joy, guiding them from surviving to thriving in mind, body, and spirit. She's the author of Journey to Peace and Healing and Journey to Self-Discovery, 100 Days of Soulful Reflections. So let's welcome Dawn Michele with one L Jackson to the show. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm honored to be here today and to speak with your audience.
Oh, for me and for my audience, it's really a privilege to have you here with us because we know you do a very, very important work with people. And when you hear the expression allow yourself, what comes to mind first?
When I hear allow yourself, what comes to me, and it might be partly because of the work I do, is allow yourself to be present. Because so many times when we're interacting with other people, we're either focused on something else, like our phones, or our minds are going 100 miles a minute, thinking about what happened 5 minutes ago, what's going to happen in the future. And we're not really present with the individual that we're in front of. So that allow yourself phrase is allow yourself to be present in your life for everything, for other people, for those that you love, and for yourself. What do you need to take care of you? What type of self-care? Allow that in your life.
It sounds so easy, right? And
Yes.
today is so difficult and so hard to find because we live in a world of a lot of noise, rushing, the phone, we start, even if it happened to me too, even if I want to do something in WhatsApp, for example, and then a text come in, I get completely distracted. I go to someplace else. I'm not present with me, what I'm going to do. Oh, I have experiences of not being present and just being and doing something else that my husband says that I am the only person that he knows that can burn boiling eggs. So okay, because of that kind of distraction, because of the phone rings, or because somebody calls me, or because I go to the office and leave the kitchen. And this is with things. You're talking more about people, and that's so hard today to find a nice conversation eye to eye without looking at the phone or without looking what's going to happen next. So tell us a little bit about your work. How do you um, deal with people that are in grief, but that the visitors or the people that are around are not present?
When people are grieving, one of the things that they desire most is to be heard. And I think the majority of people have the experience of choosing to be honest about what's going on, things that are hurting their heart, and sharing those with someone, and realizing that that person isn't totally there, isn't present, isn't listening, but instead they're either distracted or they want to fix the situation for us, because we genuinely care about other people. We don't want to see them grieving. We don't want to see them hurting or struggling. So oftentimes we think that we can fix their situation by something we say or giving some advice. And so I always remind people it's really important when someone comes to us to share their heart that we just listen and we allow them to talk about whatever is on their mind and on their heart versus trying to offer any advice or say something that might not be helpful. One of the most helpful things we can just say is, I can't imagine what you're experiencing right now, and I am here to listen and support you.
Wow, it's really so simple, and we tend to complicate things, right? It's just to be present in grief and this kind of empathy.
Mhm.
Um, I remember a story of a psychologist, Pilar Sordo, that she's from Chile, that she was telling the story that when she was in her funeral, in the funeral of her husband, she
Mhm.
was crying and screaming, and the amount of people that came and offered her pills and remedies. She said that she could open a pharmacy with where everything uh, she was offered, and the answer was, just let me grieve.
Mhm.
Where can I grieve if I'm not in the cemetery? And this is the most painful place I am right now, that I lost a husband of 30 or more years that I was with them. So is what you're saying so true and so hard to do? Because I think, I just correct me if I'm wrong, is it because we feel uncomfortable seeing others cry,
Mhm.
or is like we don't know how to handle the situation?
It's both, because kind of like what I'd mentioned, we don't like to see people hurting and we want to try and fix it. If we think about those of us that are parents, w- most of us try and fix things for our kids because we don't want them to struggle. And we don't allow them their own path sometimes because we want to fix things. And it's the same with anybody else in our lives. We want them to feel better. So we try and offer words that are going to change the situation, but they don't. So we want them to feel better. We feel uncomfortable because we don't know what to do. And that's when those unhelpful intellectual comments come out, like, well, if someone's sick, like, well, they're in a better place now. They're no longer struggling. Well, yes, that's true, but that doesn't change how our heart feels. Our heart is hurting. So saying something like that often causes more pain. And like you talked about, offering drugs, offering anything to try and fix the situation. Well, those people that are offering these things, they're doing it from their heart, and they're not realizing that this individual just needs to grieve, just needs to cry, talk, wail, whatever. And as a society, we have made grief that elephant in the room. And so many of us are uncomfortable with grief. Before I became a grief recovery method specialist, I believed that grief was just about death. And now I realize grief is about so many things. There's grief in moving, there's grief in any type of relationship, having a struggle, or, the end of a relationship, changing jobs, retiring. And some things like retirement are a happy occasion, but they also lead to some grief because it's a change and we're used to life a certain way. And all of a sudden, all of our coworkers that have been like our extended family, we don't see them every day. And we lose some of our purpose when we retire as well. So I like to, you know, let people know that grief isn't just about death, it's about any little change in our life, any transition that causes us some emotional discomfort.
And people don't allow themselves to grieve on those situations.
Correct.
Even losing a phone, okay, with all your contacts and all your information, and or so, or even an object that is very dear for you that breaks, something that was your mom's or was that passed away or so. People don't allow themselves to grieve because I don't know, just correct me, I'm just thinking, people think they would look stupid because I'm grieving because I move, they fire me, or I'm moving, or I'm retiring, instead of being happy because I now can do whatever I want.
Right.
um it's a rediscovery, right? The place of grief.
Yeah, and I think we've been taught by society that it's okay to have emotions about certain things, but that also if we spend too much time in grief, or we're grieving something that doesn't seem like a normal grieving event, that we're not going to be supported, that people are going to leave us, and so we keep that all inside and we try to be strong, but unfortunately we end up with some unhelpful coping mechanisms because we're stuffing all of that down. And we can only do it for so long until another thing happens and another thing. And all of a sudden, it's like that tea kettle that's about ready to explode because we haven't been able to process things that happened years ago because we didn't have the tools to process them.
We didn't have the tools, and society, it depends on the culture also,
Yes,
um, make us feel like we are making the other people uncomfortable being sad.
right.
Or it's we allow ourselves to be angry, but we don't allow ourselves to be sad.
That is
And
very correct.
because culturally you can scream and protest and do, and it's socially accepted. But to be sad, or to be pausing, and to be in silence, and to be more uh, inner, flipping yourself into within, going within in order to process the all what you're feeling, and healing your heart, or your whatever you lost. um, it's very cultural not to allow ourselves to do that. So when it's like when you say that we restrict that, then something else happens. Then we'll get sick. So we are allowed to be sick,
Mhm.
in order to pause, but not
Yes,
to grieve. We can
yes,
be in pain, but not in grief. Is
correct.
that correct?
That is very correct. And, in the United States, if like your spouse dies, you might get a couple days off work, but after that, you're expected to go back to work. So, we don't honor.
And
our-
function 100%. To be a mother, to be an employee, to do whatever we just back to normal, right?
Right. And
Mhm.
that's not realistic. Like none of us can do that. And we oftentimes pretend that we're okay and we say that we're fine when we really are barely treading water inside. I always talk about FINE stands for feelings inside not expressed.
Oh,
Because when
nice.
someone asks us, how are you doing? I'm fine. Oftentimes we really aren't fine. We're just saying that because we don't feel safe enough to be emotionally honest because we're worried that someone will reject us or they won't want to hear what we have to share. And so we just go through life. I'm fine.
Wow, I'm fine. I'm fine. Feelings inside not expressed. That's a beautiful. I have my feelings, but I'm not expressing it to you because I don't want to make you uncomfortable. So I better walk in life like a zombie,
Right.
numb.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. So to be able to find those individuals in life, and I call them our tribe, those individuals that can show up in any event that happens in our life, whether it's the happy times to celebrate or the sad times to just sit there and be a listening heart, is amazing. And I teach people how to be listening hearts. It's we allow someone to express their emotions and we don't judge them, we don't criticize, we don't offer, advice. We just hold space.
Two words very important that you just said for the audience to remember. Not judging. Not judging means no telling that is doing correctly or incorrectly, not
Right.
fixing or not suggesting and not doing anything. According to Dawn Michele, is just listen,
Mm.
just just be present, just be there to support, to be a companion, not to judge.
Correct.
And
And no comparison. Because here's the thing,
mm,
if we lose, say, a parent, we often hear, oh, I lost my dad as well. I know how you feel. Well, no one knows how you feel, and no one knows how I feel because we're unique individuals. There's things about us that are similar, but every relationship we have with someone, even if you and I were sisters and we had the same dad, we have a different relationship with dad. And so when dad is no longer here, I have no idea how you're going to feel, and you have no idea how I'm going to feel because we are unique and every single relationship we have is unique. So I always remind people about that because that comparison piece often shuts others down and minimizes their experience.
yeah, he said, don't be so ridiculous. I'm also your sister. I know I'm going through the same thing, and it's not that bad. Yeah, you can hear those expressions in comparison, and so for some is uh, very heavy thing because they didn't express things, they didn't say things before. They would lie, they would love to be said, and others that they're in peace. They finish the circle. They how we call it in Spanish, no? We close the circle, so it's okay. I'm in peace. He left. We everything is done. So, wow, that's such an important point to remember, huh? Not only not to judge, but not to compare that. Oh, really? My my cousin lost his father, and after 6 months he was okay already. What about you? So, um, is there a time that grief has to be overcome, or
No. In fact, many people think, well, I have this amount of time and then I'm going to be fine. But the truth is there is no time. Many people believe that time is what heals, but it's actually the actions we take within time. So here's an interesting comparison. If you get a flat tire on the side of the road, you can't just sit there and think that time is going to reinflate your tire. You'd be sitting there for the rest of your life and it's never going to reinflate unless somebody comes and reinflates your tire. Well, the same is true for grief. It's not just going to go away because time passes, it's what we do within that time. I ask people in rooms, groups of people all the time to raise their hand if there's something that's happened over a year ago that still hurts their heart. Everybody raises their hand. And then I go to 5 years and 10 years and 20 years. And I say, if time healed a broken heart, wouldn't 20 years be long enough? But the point is that time doesn't heal. It's what you do in that time. So, most of us know somebody that has gone through a really traumatic loss many, many years ago, and they're still stuck in that loss because they haven't found ways to heal their heart from it. So, no, there's no given time.
And how do people overcome with the triggers that find when they don't deal with that time in that time, they don't take action, that they find triggers in every situation to remind and to hold them back and stuck?
Mhm. Yeah. So what I do is I work with people and I take them through a tool that's called the grief recovery method that helps them look at different losses in their life. And we use specific actions that help them heal their hearts so they move from that place of being triggered, that place of feeling all of their deep emotions and pain, to a place that they can move forward and they can remember that event, but not with that pain that had been surrounding it previously. Yes, if they've lost someone, they may still feel a sense of sadness, but they don't get stuck in the pain that had been present for months or years.
So it's like they release the pain
Yes.
or they transform the pain, if
Mhm.
not release. They can talk about it, but with some distance. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So it's like I've done, work on a lot of different relationships and events in my life that used to be very, very painful for me to talk about and would bring up many painful feelings inside. Now I can talk about them from a more neutral standpoint. Yes, this happened in my life, and yes, it affected me, but it doesn't cause me pain today. And I'm not carrying it into all my relationships because that's the thing, is that everything that hurts our heart affects every other aspect of our life. So if we think back to when we were younger, our very first romantic love relationship, our most people's hearts are completely open, but then they get hurt. And so a little part of their heart closes and they're not quite as open. Well, every time they get hurt, more of their heart closes, and it's more difficult to have a meaningful relationship because we've been hurt so many times and we haven't healed that pain that we don't allow ourselves to be completely open in a relationship with our new partners.
Because we're afraid to be hurt again. Is that?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and that happened a lot with trust too, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. When we don't trust because we've been hurt and people have, you know, abused our trust, we don't want to let anybody else in. And so the work I do with people kind of provides a clean slate. It's like erasing the chalkboard, not the memories, but it's a really getting rid of, letting go of a lot of that pain that's not allowing individuals to have the fulfilling life that they desire and to thrive.
Can you tell us an example where you go through or that you have in your mind that you felt that you were just surviving and not thriving? That would you can flip that and allow yourself really, okay, this is happened to me. It doesn't have to be very personal, but something that really illustrates that flip, that change of not surviving but really thriving.
Yeah, so I have a great example from my personal life. So at the age of 30, I found myself divorced with a 3-year-old son. And obviously, that is not where I wanted to find myself at the age of 30. And I was devastated. I didn't know how to move forward. I would put my son to bed and then I would just cry myself to sleep. I didn't know how to process this. I felt like my life was over as far as having a stable relationship with someone and being able to form that connection and bond that I so desired. And it was through doing this work that I was able to flip things. I saw the gift in that relationship and that divorce, where before I could only see the destruction of that marriage. I couldn't see the gifts. So I was able to flip it around and realize that him leaving me was really what helped me start healing some of the other stuff that happened in my childhood that wasn't allowing me to be my authentic self, to be the highest version of myself. And so it was a blessing, the divorce. But I couldn't
Wow,
see that when I was in the middle of it.
and that's beautiful because when we are in the middle of it, uh, I tell I call it the story I'm telling myself, no? That's chapter number 11 in my book. That it's flip it over, right? Is what is the story I'm telling myself when I'm in the middle of that situation? It's I'm a loser, I'm a
Mm.
failure.
Yes.
Now nobody will love me because I have a child, and I am a failure. It's not that the marriage failed. The story we tell ourselves is that I am the failure, like an
Yes.
identity. So it's so important to find a method, to find a coach, to find somebody to help and pull you out of there. That when we are inside that pot that it's boiling, it's
Hmm.
so hard to come out by ourselves.
Yes.
We really need a helping hand that says, "Come on, I can help you. Let's see it differently. It's not the end of the world. What about this?" And you go through therapy and method to really change that story that we're telling ourselves. That is really what it's starting to heal us because. I think that what we tell ourselves and what we think we create, so is that path that really come to a successful overcoming the the situation. Um, if you go back to that 30th young lady,
Hmm.
what will you whisper to her to allow herself to do in order to heal? What will you whisper her? What advice will you tell that 30-year-old? I usually ask for a teenager, but because that was your breaking point, it's like 30th was your teenager point.
I would go back and I would just say, believe in yourself and, trust the process. I was really angry at the time and I was blaming my husband. And like you said, I saw myself as a failure, but I also thought, how could he do this? What I couldn't see was all the pain that I had brought into that marriage for stuff that I hadn't known how to heal from my own childhood. So I brought it into the marriage, making it really difficult to have a loving, working marriage. So I would definitely say, trust the process, believe in yourself. Because that's what I needed at that time, because I didn't believe in me and I didn't trust that things would be okay. It wasn't until I got to the other side that I really understood the reason that all of it happened was so that I could find myself.
Very interesting. And did you allow yourself to feel or to feel? Because blaming usually is we're giving the power to the other person when we start
Right.
blaming others and we don't take responsibility for our
Correct.
acts. And as you say, if we don't do actions, so nothing happen, right?
Right.
We just blame and blame and blame and give the other the power to run our lives because that's the power we're giving away.
Right.
Um, so how did you come to yourself if you were blaming all the time? Um, how did you came back to believing in yourself?
There was a certain point where I just got tired of being the victim. And thought, you know, I need to look at my own part of this. And I started going to retreats and workshops and reading lots of spiritual books, and then became a grief recovery method specialist. And I realized that there was a bigger picture going on, and that I had a huge part to play in where I ended up today. And that was the point where my healing began. And after that point, I was able to actually go back to my ex-husband and take ownership for my part in the dissolution of our marriage, which was an amazing place to be, because years later years earlier, I'd been so angry and blaming him, and I didn't see my part.
That takes a lot of courage
Mm.
to accept your part. And uh, it's not even not only recognizing the courage, you have to accept it, but
Right.
it's even more courage to go and say it and ask for, okay, my accountability, I have my part in this, so I know it wasn't not just you, then we need two to tango. So
Right.
but that's the real flip when you really start healing, right? And all those wounds and all those steps that you took is what really allow yourself to experience that you really can help people that are grieving,
Mhm.
and create the method and become in your mission, let's call it, and in your vision to really be able to help, because you walk that talk. You first
Yes.
walk it, then you can talk it. So that's
Yes.
really success in my view.
Well, and I don't ask anyone to do something that I haven't already done.
Oh,
So,
well, that's not the common that's not the common denominator, because there is a lot today, people that just read a book, or a book, it's a lot if they read an article and they feel themselves expertise to go and heal and do, and they do a lot of advertising and they do a lot of noise, and because um, oh, they just come out of the university with all the knowledge in here, but they have not downloaded to here. And today, I heard somebody said that those that scream a lot is a let them, because those that don't talk that much and they go private and they go one-on-one, it's because they have walked the talk, and they know, and they don't know, and they know what they don't know. The ones
mhm,
that just have it in their minds, they don't know what they don't know. So
right.
it's so important to find people that help knowing the path. Even
Mhm.
if you said that the path of each person is individual and each one goes through a different stage, you know that because you live different situations and
Right.
because you have deal with different people.
Mhm.
So that's your expertise. That's why you were able to create the method. And that's your greatness, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about helping people because I know that I've done this process myself many, many times. And I know I continue to do it in my life, because this is the thing. From the minute we're born until the minute we die, we go through transitions, we experience loss. So there's always something that can be leading to grief. Even happy things, like we talked about retirement, having a baby, getting married, those can lead to grief as well, because our life completely changes. So we don't have to be always joyful or always grieving. We can be both. We can experience grief and joy at the same time. That's normal, but most people think that it has to be one or the other. And so I'm constantly looking at my life and where are the transitions? What are the things that are weighing heavy on my heart? And let me look at them and heal those, because otherwise I can't show up and help other people. I have many clients say to me, well, I want my husband to change. I want my mom to change. I want my child to change. And I'm like, the only person that you can change is you. Change begins with you. And if you want the relationship to be better, then you need to work on you. And that doesn't mean the relationship is going to be that much better. It means you are going to show up differently. And then the other individual chooses how they're going to show up. But if you can handle things differently, it's going to create some kind of a shift in your relationships. And so I always remind people of that. Like, you have to focus on yourself. You cannot change anyone else. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with, but I've learned that in my life through my own healing.
Oh, that's so, so true that if you change, everything around you changes.
Yes.
And you don't need even to change yourself. You have to change your mindset. That's all. How you see things, how you approach things, and everything else will fall into place.
Hmm.
Eh, some will leave, some will stay, some will get closer to you, but everything is like a rearrangement of what do you want. So here, when you change and you change your mindset, there comes the other part that are very important, that it's how to set the boundaries.
Hmm.
So um, how, what can you tell us about setting boundaries during stages of grief? That you call it transitions. I call it the in between, between A and B. That transition, I call it the in between.
So I think, setting boundaries is really important. Like, oftentimes we don't give ourselves the space we need to grieve, and we don't tell people what we need. And so I think setting boundaries, we can say to others, like, I need this time for me right now. I need to take this hour, this day, whatever, to be with my feelings, to be with my emotions. We can also ask for support, but we can also have a boundary like, this isn't supportive. I know that you want to show up for me, but giving me advice or comparing your loss to my loss isn't supportive right now. So we can have those type of boundaries and show up for ourselves. And I know that's not always easy for any of us because we've been taught to people please, to take care of others. We've often been taught that self care is selfish. But the fact of the matter is, unless we take care of ourselves and we fill our cup up first, we're not going to have anything to give to those people that we love and care about.
Wow, that's beautiful. That um, how we how can you um, allow the people, let them allow themselves to speak up and to ask for their boundaries, because that's, I find, uh, so hard for so many people to set a boundary, just to say not now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can hear you now because my mind is someplace else. Just to speak up and just leave me alone. Oh, I need to rest. I need to go right now. I cannot stay with everyone. So how can you incentivize people to speak up and to talk and to not to be afraid? Because the good people, they will love that person. It will understand perfectly what's happening.
I think, reminding people that we can't give what we don't have inside. And so when we're struggling inside, we don't have anything to give someone else. We try, but if we take a look around at our life, things don't seem to be flowing with much ease because we're exhausted. And so, reminding people that you are important. Your whole life starts with you. So many of us were taught early in life that we weren't important, that we needed to just take care of others. And I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, I've been a wife. And so, that came to me naturally, is to just care for others at the expense of myself. And it came after some hard lessons and some hard losses that I realized I can't do that anymore. I need to take care of me because that's the only way I can show up and be proud of who I am. When I'm exhausted and not caring for myself, I get cranky and I don't show up as the highest version of myself. And then guess what? I beat myself up. We all do that. And we end up with regrets. But if we can start with ourselves, I tell like moms, sometimes it's really hard to have even an hour to yourself. So if the only thing you can do is lock yourself in a closet for 10 minutes or the bathroom to just breathe, center yourself, anything you can do to take that time to replenish some of your energy and open your heart a little bit more will benefit your life greatly.
Wow, that's so important. These small pauses that you can align yourself and you can go back to you, and then you can perform, or you can be yourself in a recharge your energy, let's say, those minutes to recharge your energy. That, yeah, but it's also so culturally, it's so punished
Yes.
to take a pause, to rest, to take those minutes. But it's so important, but because it changed 180 degrees how will you act. You will start acting and not reacting after
Right.
those pauses that are so important to to align. So one thing that you said that I really like, you said a lot of things, but one specific is that, that we tend to think that if we protect ourselves, we're selfish. That's how we were taught.
Hmm.
We have to think for the others before we think for ourselves. But my question always was, where is the loyalty? The loyalty to whom? I have to be loyal to the other person first and being loyal to me. So I'll betray myself in order to please others. So it's so important to really take care of ourselves and protect ourselves. And as one time Lisa Nichols said in one of her talks, it's like that her father taught her that she is teaching others how to treat herself. If
Hmm.
you treat yourself and if you neglect yourself, why others won't? If you're
Correct.
teaching them how to neglect, so that's so important to take care of yourself and first, so you're teaching the others even without saying the boundaries, that this is the way I like to be
Yeah.
treated.
Yeah, it's modeling that behavior. And when we neglect ourselves, then we're showing the other individuals in our life that it's okay to also neglect us and to neglect themselves. And that doesn't lead to uh, a life full of health in any way. Like one thing that I have noticed as a nurse is that those people who run around and are trying to always care for others and forget themselves end up physically ill after a while because
Oh,
they,
drained.
yeah. So first it's, their mental health is suffering, and then their physical health starts to suffer and they end up in bed with the flu, or they end up needing surgery, something, because the universe is always going to show up and tell you you have to stop at some point and you
Yeah, and
have to take a break.
it's much better to take a break voluntarily and
Yes.
pause, even if small pauses, that the universe will put the brakes one time, brah, directly to surgery or illness or something. Yeah,
Right.
uh, uh, that's true. Wow. And we can talk for hours here, but we need uh, one. If there is one advice that you would like to tell the audience, what would it be? To allow themselves to what?
Be emotionally honest. You know, most of us push down our emotions, probably because we've been taught that it's not safe to talk about how we feel, and it's not safe to grieve openly. Find those individuals that are part of your tribe, those trusted individuals that can just listen and be emotionally honest. Because the more that we choose to be emotionally honest, the more we heal. When we stuff that stuff down, it ends up causing all kinds of issues, including problems with addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, social media, video games. Those things create issues in our life.
Beautiful. Emotionally honest.
Mhm.
I like it. Emotionally honest.
Yeah, no
And
saying I'm fine when you're not fine.
yeah, remember that fine means
Yes,
feeling
inside,
inside, not expressed. Feeling
correct.
inside, not expressed. Oh, I like that very much. And if you want to find Dawn Michele Jackson, you can go to her website that is Dawn Michele with one L Jackson.com. So you can find her and contact her for advice or whatever service. She has so many services that you can be help and heal with her. And thank you very much, Don Michelle. And in one word, what would you take from this conversation before I close?
In one word, connection.
Connection. Beautiful. Yes. I'm going with presence,
I love
like
it.
you said at the beginning, right? So you
Yeah.
with connection and presence. So thank you very much, really, Dawn, for sharing your heart, your wisdom with us today, because this conversation is a very powerful reminder that allow yourself is not a one-time thing. It's a process that we have to trust the process. It's a daily practice of courage, of grace, of self-trust. And for you that you're listening, may you give yourself permission to be present, to take space, to feel emotionally honest, and to begin again and to become all that you meant to be. So thank you very much, Don, and a pleasure having you here. See you next time.
Thank you, Batya.